Well, this is it, our last installment of my YouTube videos. So welcome. And what we have today is we are going to make quiche. I'm going to make two. Really simple. Bacon, eggs, some cream, and I like to use Gruyere cheese, but any Swiss cheese, cheddar, works well as well. So we make quiche is great. Put it in the fridge. You can have it for supper. Makes a great lunch. So that's what we're going to do. So what I'm going to start off with now is the pastry. So this is what we've got. I'm going to make two batches. So we need 60 grams. I'm making two batches, but I'm going to give you the recipe for just one. Okay. So 60 grams of butter, cold. 60 grams of Crisco or shortening. Doesn't matter if it's cold or not. Okay, and you need 225 grams of flour. Right, pop that in here. Takes care of my flour. Next, what I'll do is a technique I got from when I was at Say. Instead of breaking it up, you can use a grater, providing it's cold. I'm grating the butter. What does this do? Well, it just breaks the butter up into nice small portions, and it's easy for me to flake in there when I get in there to flake the crust. Okay, so I'm going to put this in here like this, almost done. But it is important to cube it, guys. Okay, when you're making pastry, right? Just smaller. The smaller the amount of the fat in there, the easier it is to break up. That's all. It'd be really hard to break up that big cold block of butter that I'm just putting in there. So that's where we are on this one. Great. There you go. Look, see, that's all ready to go. And then my Crisco, or my vegetable shortening. Yeah, this will work. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to break that up into small pieces. Okay, just like this. And then what I'm going to do is use my fingertips. You can use a fork if you want. There's actually a gadget you can buy. And I'm going to just crumble this. And I need a good pinch of salt. Okay, make sure your salt is fine. All right, so a good pinch of salt. Right, there we are. Right, now what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm just going to get in there and I'm going to crumble it. And I'll be back to show you how to add the water to make the dough. All right, we're back. So I've made this really nice and crumbly. Okay, so you want to make this like oatmeal-y. Okay, now I've got a double batch, which is fine because you could freeze it as well. Now, here's the next part. It says, my recipe I have is 3 to 5 tablespoons of cold water. It's got to be cold, not warm, okay? So, now remember this, you need to remember this, students, is remember when you're adding liquid, especially to a dry mix, you always want to try to make sure you're as accurate as possible and be mindful of not to add too much. So, I'm going to add the minimal amount. So for me, the recipe calls for 3 to 5 tablespoons. I've added 4 already, and I'm going to add 5. I'm going to bring this together, see how it comes along. And as soon as it comes together, I leave it alone. Okay, what we don't want to do, I'm going to add a little bit more. Is when you're making pastry, remember it's not like bread dough where you have to knead it. You just want to bring it together and then let it rest. Well, this is coming together. Right. Might add just a tad more. Just a tad more. Now, if this is in class, then you'd have a better idea because I could come around and you could kind of figure out that's the beauty about cooking, is that even though you're seeing it on the video, it's not the same as feeling it, is it? So you know what it looks like and what it feels like. So I think that's kind of a cool thing about cooking. Asks for all the senses to be activated. Just like this, like that. There you go. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop this in the fridge I'm going to put this in the fridge and cut it in half, roll it out, blind bake it, and then we're going to add the rest, and we're good to go. Okay, so put that in the fridge like half an hour. I have quiche pans. There's a few I have here. I had to go into school and pick one up. This is a school one. This one's my own, a bigger one. And they come in different varieties. They're really handy with removable bottoms. And you can also get them ceramic as well. You can get a ceramic one as well. Okay? So those are your quiche pans. And what you're going to do is, first thing you're going to do is get these prepared. And we're going to do a thing, what we're going to do is blind bake. We're going to blind bake these. And that just is going to give them a little bit, give the crust, just to have the crust cook underneath a little bit. And it will make when you add the quiche in there, it will just make it nice and flaky. Right, so cooking spray, a wonderful thing. So much easier. Do all the sides. Right, that's done now. Beautiful. Right, now. In half. Now we've been doing quite a bit with pastry, so remember, what you want to do first is start working it. Let me get rid of this here. You need to make sure you start working it. I like to start with working it by hand, okay? Start working it by hand. Kind of get the shape you want. Okay, now they needs to be quite wide. These are quite wide quiche pans, so we need to get them nice and wide. Now if it breaks up, don't worry about it too much. When you start to roll, I like to press down quite hard. Less rolling, more pressing, I find, because then it doesn't stick as much. Definitely worth perfecting. Working on this. It really, another one of those summer things like the Cornish pasties that work really well for us. Because you can put them in the oven, bake them, have them cold, and you have something in the fridge. Now, you can make a few of them, because they don't last very long, because people just nibble on them and they're delicious. And they're pretty inexpensive to make, quite honestly. So. So the next time you guys see me, well, we're going to find out, aren't we? What's going to happen in the announcement by the province will be in August, so keep tuned for that, because they're going to make a decision, see how things are going with everything, because I think that's what the decision will be made on. The nice thing about living in Canada and Alberta, they're going to make decisions based on our health first, which is nice. That's important. So, let me see now how we're doing. Oh, we're getting there. Couple more. Should be able to make that go pretty good. Nice big. Whoop. Yeah, if it breaks off, you can just kind of, just put it back in there. No big deal. Right, now, what we're going to do, the way I like to do this is just kind of roll it up. You have to start it off slowly. There you are, look at that. Oop. So it breaks. That's okay, no big deal. Just kind of gently roll it up like this. We can always fix it once it gets back in the pan. Put the pan back here like this. I love doing this at home, at school with you guys. Watching you guys work is super fun. All the trials and tribulations that we have. Now look, got a couple of holes in there, not a big deal. Now what I'm going to do is, you need to lift this up and really tuck this in. You need to really tuck this in here, you see. Okay. Don't worry if it breaks, because you can always fix it. A little bit of egg. Little egg in there. And you really want to tuck that in there, because what happens is that this is going to shrink. I don't have any, they have these baking beads that are like, they're like made of glass, and you can add them in there. I used to have them, I don't know where they are. But nonetheless, I'll put another bowl on there. I'll put something inside it when we bake it, blind bake it. Now, what I'm going to do now, I need my eyes, is I'm just going to really fold this over, and I'm going to have extras on the side. I'm not going to cut it off on the side, because I know when I do this, it's going to shrink. Okay, so I'm going to pinch this edge and give myself a nice edge on this quiche like this. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll it over and I'm going to pinch it. Okay, just going to pinch that edge. Just like roll it over, give it a little pinch. That's it. Just so I know that I'm going to have enough. I'm going to have enough pastry, because I know it's going to shrink. Salad, delicious, delicious lunch. That's what I'm taking some in for. I'm taking one in for school today for Mrs. Quinlan and Mr. Paccioni and Mr. Fox and Mrs. Sylvester and Mrs. Nacarado and Mrs. Segbor. Little shout out for those people that have been tirelessly working for us to keep things going. So anyway, got this done. Right. Oh, see how that one's a bit low? Just get a little bit in here. Just kind of fold it over. It's not a big deal, guys. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So I'm waiting for this to do, and I'm going to do another one. And then what I'm going to do is get a fork, and you just get some air underneath there and just fork that like that. I like to bake them on this. Now, when you pick up these ones, be careful you don't put your hand right in the middle. Put them on the side. There we go. I wonder if this will fit in here. I bet it does not. Oh, look at that. How often does that work? Right. So, I like to bake them in here because this will get nice and hot. So a little technique, I've shown you this before. I'm going to put this in the oven to heat up. Oven's on about 350. Right, okay. Just helps get some air underneath it. Give a nice crispy crust. Okay, so all I'm going to do now, guys, put this in here like this so it's nice and hot. One. I'm going to put this in for about 9 minutes. Okay, it's been 10 minutes, so let's bring these out. There we are. Perfect. So I'm going to leave the oven still on. See how we're doing here. Oh, that's good. Not touching that. I'm just going to put them in just for another minute or so. This thicker one, this one here could do a little more going over. This one here is good. So I'm just going to put that in for a couple of minutes. Now, while we're waiting, let's get our mise and organised. So, I find this really important. Gruyere cheese. It's a Swiss cheese. It's from their It's a really lovely Swiss cheese. It's not an Edam. It's got a distinct flavour and it melts really, really nicely. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut up bacon. And you're going to put the bacon in there. We haven't mentioned the bacon yet, how I was cooking it. And I'll do that right now. There we are. Oh, that's a nice portion of cheese, isn't it? Nice. Let me see, 2 on each. Yeah, I think that'll work. I think that will work nicely. Right, now, so I've got my cheese. Let's do our eggs. Now, your eggs, much better off being room temperature, okay? Much better off room temperature. These are really nice farm eggs. Let's get out the quiche, the blind cook quiche. Oh, there we are. That's what I wanted. You can probably see it now. It's kind of lifted up a little bit, just cooked a little bit, which is perfect. So this technique is called blind baking. So I'm going to let that cool down now. It's not a big deal. And I'll show you how I do these. I used to make a lot of these. I haven't made them in a while. So that's kind of nice. Right, cream. I should be giving you measurements. Go about ½ cup. Nice. That'll work. Your ½ cup cream. And you want cream. You can go with milk, but it makes it not as rich. So, and then, like with our omelettes, let's use a fork. You don't need to over whisk this. Need a pinch of salt. Not too much because you've got your bacon. Right. Now I'm going to give this a little whisk. Beautiful. Look, that's all you need. Just give it a nice good old whisk. Don't go crazy here, kids. All right, because if you over whisk it, the eggs don't lift as much, and that's what you want. I'll whisk this in this bowl when I put it back in a minute. So now I've got my bacon. You can see it here. That's kind of how you want it. Don't make it too crispy. Don't make it too crispy. And then what I'm going to do is I put it on this morning. As soon as I woke up this morning, I put it on low. And you just let it cook on low. Don't be in a big hurry to cook it. It renders more fat out that way. Okay? If you cook it quickly, it renders the fat out, but it also tends to cook it a little quicker. It's too crispy. Right, you gonna come and have this, darling? Now, people might think it's not very hygienic, and you probably have a point, but it's my home and I don't care. And I'm going to wash that in hot water and soap. So I'm not really that concerned about hygiene in that sense, because it's going to be washed in hot water, and then the next time I use it, it's going to be a hot pan. So the chances of bacteria coming from my dog to me are slim to none. And I don't like, to be honest with you guys, I don't like really finely chopping it. I like kind of nice flakes of bacon in there. Pop that in there. Give that a little stir. Break that in half and put a great big handful of Gruyere cheese in there. How about that, kids? And all I'm going to do is just whisk that in there like that. Give that a little stir. And put that in there. Now make sure that oven's nice and preheated. I like to have it at about 325. I like to do it at a nice slow, even pace. Okay, so here we are. 1 in here and 2. Now a couple things with this, with the removable metal quiche pan. You for sure want to make sure that you have something underneath it in case, you know, your pastry cracks and it leaks. Right, there we are. Look at that. So, I'm going to put that in there. I bet you it's going to take a good 30-35 minutes. I'll clean up, do a few chores, and we'll be back to show you how it is. Do not open the oven, okay? Turn that down just a bit. So, that's Quiche Lorraine, 30-35 minutes. And we'll test it. It should be beautiful golden and it should rise. That's Quiche Lorraine, and the kitchen's going to smell wonderful. I'll be back. There you go, guys. That was on for about 30 minutes. Just got this out of the oven. And yeah, so we'll do that. Let them cool down. Their best day of, but they'll last a couple of days and they'll be delicious. Cheesy and creamy. Have it with salad. Make a delicious lunch. So good luck. Show me your pictures when you have made some.